Hi and welcome to Conversations in the Living Room. My name is T.
I'm Drew.
And if this is your first time joining us here, we are a black, gay, married couple living in the UK. I'm of Nigerian descent and
Ugandan descent.
so welcome. To start off, how has your week been?
My week has been interesting.
Okay.
I think January hasn't been easing me in the way I kind of intended it to. How about you?
I feel like my week has been busy, but in a good way, because I feel like this week has sort of made me understand certain boundaries in terms of what I can and can't accept. And then also, I think it has also given me the drive to want more, because I think socializing with a lot of our friends this week has been like, okay, there's so much more to explore and see out there in the world. So it's like a week of get into the next gear, but also understanding that you have certain rules and limitations, you don't accept everything.
This month has definitely been testing in terms of like boundaries.
So today we are going to be diving into a bit of how will I put it, a bit of an intense topic. We're going to be talking about our coming out stories, but specifically we're going to focus on Andrew's coming out story, because that sets the sort of tone of a lot of things that happen in our relationship in terms of, you understand more in terms of what I said.
My coming out story is our coming out story. It's the story of our liberation.
Yeah.
Us reclaiming our independence, autonomy. I'm being dramatic, but no, it actually, I think...
No, you played a
I
big
think
part in our relationship.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get into my story, we just want to actually, obviously level set on what coming out means to us. Do you want to start?
Yeah, so coming out to me, first and foremost, means freedom. I think freedom in living your authentic life. I'm sort of getting to a place where I sort of hate how that authentic word is being used.
Become like a trope.
Yeah. But it is first and foremost living your authentic life, in the sense that when I came out, there was that weight lifted off my shoulders. Like, if my parents know, if my siblings know, you cannot tell me nothing. Like, there is no other person that matters. I don't care what people around me have to say about it. So there was that freedom. Like, the people I love, the people I connect with the most, know about it. And from then on, everything else just faded into the background.
Did you feel like coming out was a specific moment in time, or was it like a process?
For me, specifically, it was a process. It was the journey from acceptance, from stability, then it was now like come out, because what can happen to you? I think that was it for me. So what does coming out to you? What does it mean?
I mean, you said it. I think for me, coming out it's a process, and it's a process that starts off by coming out to yourself first, and then coming out to the world. And I think it's about freedom. It's about living your authentic sexual, romantic, or intimate desires. I think it's about being in alignment with those things. It's also about taking accountability for the consequences that come with being open about your sexuality and your romantic or intimate desires, because a lot of my coming out story, which we'll get into, was about taking accountability and about taking back control of the narrative around my own sexuality.
I think very much your story, there's a lot of accountability and consequences that when we took a step back, it was a process. I'm not always lie. There was a bit of like, I don't even want to put the word shame, but there was a bit of regret, I would say, in the process. But yeah.
Do you think it's still necessary to come out in 2024?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I think we're in a world where it's more acceptable, but I feel like to truly be free, there has to be a sense of coming out. And when I say come out, I think by now you should understand, I don't mean to people that have no business in your business. I mean to the people that matter to you, to your family, to your friends, to your loved ones. There is that sense of freedom, believe me, you get. I'm not saying it's always going to be good, so just trigger warning, but the freedom for me personally has been worth it. So yes, 2024, I do believe so. What about you?
Yeah, I do, but I think coming out looks different to everyone. So like, it depends on your circumstance, it depends on your like generation, it depends on how you are as a person and what you want to disclose to others. So I think coming out looks different to different people, but I do think that there is a level of coming outness that's still needed in 2024. Even though you're Gen Z girls, I see how y'all be wilding out, child. But yeah, I do think that there's still a need to come back. Not a need, but I think it's important to live in your truth and be open and honest about that. When you can, it's safe.
So this is a good enough time to get into your coming out story. So the floor is yours.
So I came out when I feel like I was 21 or 22. It was after university, I was 22. And the reason why I always remember I was 22 is because I think it was around about the time I'm not a Swiftie. I'm not a Swiftie at all, but I remember thinking, oh, I came out at 22, and I remember thinking about that song at the time and just, I don't know, I made the connection. But I would say like the process of me coming out started way before that. I would say the process of me coming out to myself was I was probably around 17 or 18. And at the time, I think the revelation I had was I thought about the feelings that I was feeling. I think before that point, I rejected my sexuality, felt as though it was something I felt it was sinful. I felt it was something that I should repress, something I should take to the grave. Like I genuinely, up until 17 or 8, I would actually say it was 19 actually. Yeah, I would say up until that point, it was something I completely rejected. And I was like, this is something that I have to suppress. I knew there was something that made me not the same like the other boys. I wasn't interested. Yeah, I wasn't interested in what the other boys were interested in. I'm not saying that all gay boys are like not into sports, but just for me, I was more gravitated towards things that were considered feminine. And I also just had like this, I don't know if it was an attraction, but very early on it definitely evolved into attraction very early on, but I had like this attraction to the same sex. And I remember there were certain things that I did, like I remember being home and finding my mum's lipstick and putting it on in the bathroom. And then my sister, bless her, she's like the biggest queer icon now in terms of like the way the gays love her. But she's like, what are you doing? And then was like, she was not having it. And then there was another time where I was wearing heels, and then like I just kept being reprimanded.
Is very much like a rite of passage
for my interests. And I remember also there was this fur coat that you're gonna die at this one. There was this fur coat that I loved, and it was like baggy black, and it was just like this fur coat that I absolutely loved. And then I found out that it was women's. I don't know how it ended up in our house. I think it was either like my sister's or my mum's. And I loved it. And I found out it was women's, and then like I think my family were laughing at me for liking it so much. But I was like, but what's the difference? Like if this was labeled a men's jacket, like what was the difference? To me, it was just a jacket that I loved. But I remember being so confused as to like, okay, this is a woman's, why should I not like it when I still love it? And then that happened, the lipstick incident. I remember being in front of the TV when Madonna Vogue came on, and I was like learning the choreography. Like there were certain things that society told me to suppress. And then on top of that, my family weren't particularly religious, but I would say they were a lot more religious then than they are now. And I think we didn't go to church. We went to church up until I was like 6, but then they had like bad incidences with the church whereby, because we were quite poor growing up, there was a lot of elitist behavior in the church that ostracized my family, and they were immigrants. But I was religious, and I believed that what I was feeling should be suppressed, not only like societally, but like spiritually and religiously. This is something I should suppress, something I should never speak of, never acknowledge, live a false sense of my life and not express my love. And then I can't remember, but I was about 18 or 19, and then I really deeped it. I was like, wow, what I'm feeling is love. And I had a series of like situations where I was into men and they were not into me. I couldn't express the love that I had for them. It was given unrequited love. It was given Channel Orange, Frank Ocean. Actually, I think that might have been the turning point, you know. I feel like that Channel Orange album and Frank Ocean coming out, I feel like that might have coincided with the re-engineering, and the acceptance. Now I actually think about it, because I remember being like, wow, like that was the first time I'd seen a black gay figure come out in that way, and for him to be also accepted. Like I remember being at school in sixth form, and I remember the boys still liked him, and I was so shook. I was like, what? And I remember reading his story and finding it so beautiful, and then in that moment being like, what I'm feeling is love, and if there's one thing that God would not deprive me of, it is love, as God is the embodiment of love. And as soon as I had that realization, that's when my journey to acceptance began. And I would say it culminated in me coming out to my parents when I was 22. But I came out in stages. The first person I came out to was my best friend. She was also my girlfriend prior to me coming out to her. She came out as a lesbian too, so shout out to her, you know who you are. So I remember coming out to her and we were sitting on this hill. It was such like a beautiful sunny day. And I remember coming out to her and I still remember the scene so clearly. And I just remember her embracing me and being like, that's fine. She was so shocked. I remember being her so shocked, but she also was like, okay, things make sense now. And it was so funny because we were in a love triangle at one point. That became clear when I came out. At one point, there was a guy who was into her, she was into me, and I was into the guy that was into her.
Oh God.
So there was this love triangle that became clear. Shout out to that boy too, Nicky Clark. But that's how it started. And that was really driven by one of my best friends at the time. He was one of the first, it's gonna be long story time, child. But he was one of the first black gay men that I ever met, and he encouraged me to be more confident in myself and to accept my sexuality. And that led to me coming out to my best friend. Coming out to, when I went to university, I met another gay best friend at the time. He encouraged me to come out to my circle of friends at university. So I feel like I was coming out in little pockets. I found that really helped because we all step into different worlds and we all like have different layers and different circles of influence and different groups. So I think coming out in chunks is important. I always feel like it's the hardest to come out to people that you've known for the longest period of time, because you've got that history, you've got the pressure of who they think you are, and now you're having to show them who you actually are, and that I always found that difficult. So I always found I came out at the beginning to people who I'd newly befriended, because I was like, this is my chance to introduce myself to you, and there's no baggage, there's no expectations you have of me, so I can just come out and I'll be gay from the bat versus me having to come out to you later.
Very true.
Yeah. Did you have that same experience where it's harder to come out to people that you had more?
I feel like now you're saying it, I'm having that realization that that was very true. Like I found it easier to come out to people that were new to me, because it's like, what judgment can you really have if you have no sort of past knowledge or no profile of what I should be like? So I think when I was going to work, like when I started new jobs, like I would always like, oh yeah, I have a boyfriend straight away. Like I'm gay straight away. Whereas like even my childhood friends and like family, like that was a journey of itself. But yeah, you're right.
I think most of the times that I came out to my friends, I'm gonna speak about my friends and then go to my family. I remember one time I was with one of my good friends. We were both studied at the same university, we were both in the same class. And this was, I think, one of the few times where Ash was outed versus coming out. And that was when we were both studying and he was like obsessed with this golf game on the mobile at the time. We were both studying for this exam. We were sitting in my dorm room and he was like, oh, bruv, can I like play this golf game on your mobile?
I remember the story.
And I was like, yeah, sure. So I gave him the phone and I'll just go back to like working on the laptop. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh, bruv, like, he threw my phone at me and it's like, hey, bruv, I wanted just to play like the name of this game. I can't remember, play golf. I didn't want to find out that you were a batty man. Because he went on my phone and he saw Grindr, like Grindr popped up. And then I was like, oh my god, that's not me. Like, I don't know who that is. You downloaded that, like, it must have been one of my friends. I was like scrambling. And then he was just like laughing. And then it was so weird. It went silent and we just acted like nothing happened. Just went back to like doing what we're doing. And then afterwards I messaged him. I was like, oh yeah, bro, like, I just wanted to be honest with you, I'm bisexual,
The bisexual phase. Oh my god. The bisexual.
So I used to come out as bisexual, you know, just like I had one toe in, one toe out. And he was like, oh yeah, it's cool. And that was it. Like, and I was so like relieved by that. So I will say with my friends, I didn't actually have any bad experiences coming out. And I think that is a combination of setting that expectation right away with newer friends. And then also I built up such like deep relationships with the people that I'd known for a long time. They've gone to know me as a person. I think by the time I came out, they were more like accepting of it. And these were accepting people anyway. I think a lot of my friends were quite liberal, quite open-minded to an extent.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think think, like I said, once you've come out to the new friends and you start living a certain way of life, that the old friends, for me personally, my old friends have to start accustoming to my new way of life. So I get it.
It was time to come out to my family. The reason why I decided to come out to my family was because at the time me and Tosin were together and I had to move back home. After university, of course, we're seeing each other. Like, he was able to come to my dorm room and we had that freedom. But as soon as I moved back home and he was living with his parents, it became clear that we were doing Airbnbs every month to see each other. Like, it was so expensive. We'd just come out of university
And we
just
stayed
have
in some
high-paying jobs.
dodgy places.
Yeah. What's one of the worst places you could think about?
The one
we
that
were one of the first early adopters of Airbnb,
Airbnb,
you know?
yeah.
Because we were using hotels, and then I came across this thing. I was like, oh my god, there's this new thing where you can like hire out people's houses, and it was so cheap at the time. Like,
God,
it was so cheap. We got a place in-
£29,
Yeah.
£50 a night.
Yeah.
And these were nice places. I think the worst one we went to was when they had to clean the room from the person that just left. And we had to leave. It was in London somewhere, actually.
Was that the one where we had to leave the place? We had to get a refund, and that's when we went to.
Yeah.
Mm.
That was the worst experience. But yeah, Airbnb like helped a lot in our relationship.
It got to a point where it was like, okay, one of us has got to come out. The idea was that if one of us comes out, then they would be able to come to our house. I think that was the idea, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is wild to think about it, that we thought that we could just come out and then our parents would essentially be accepting of someone sleeping over at our house.
I think in that
We were-
moment we took away the fact that, number one, we were black, you know,
Yeah.
because from my experience, I never even knew
when
of
you're
heterosexual couples where the mom and dad would like, oh yeah, let your boyfriend sleep over, let your
Yeah.
girlfriend sleep over. That was never a thing in a black household, from what I know anyway.
Mm.
And then layered on top of that, we were gay. So I think at this point in time, it was just the love. It was just like, I could not see myself spending time with this guy for more than like 2 weeks. So it's like, at this point, we are broke, there's nothing left. And then Andrew made the sacrifice to come out to his parents. And I think this was something I said at the wedding. This was a sacrifice. This was not, I don't know how to put it. It was almost like you were forced to do it. And it's something that I appreciate till this day, because to me, that is like the ultimate sacrifice you can make at such a young age in a gay relationship. So thank you. I think I've said this, but thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, that was the reason. I always said that I would never come out unless I had someone to come out for, because at least then I would have that emotional support system. I don't know, I need to come out for something that was bigger than just myself, just personally. And so I started by coming out to my siblings, because I was like, I'm gonna need some even more emotional support, and I'm gonna need some like shields just in case my parents come at me crazy, like throw my sister in there. So yeah, I started to come out to my siblings first, and I decided to come out to my sister first because I just thought she suspected me anyway, because she always used to call me like, you're so gay, like, oh my god, like, she always used to throw it in my face. And so one day I pick up the phone, we're just kiki-kacking, like, we're so close, me and my sister. And also I genuinely thought she was on to me, like, because one time she was saying how one of her friends was telling her that she thought I was gay, and I was like, we were at Notting Hill Carnival, and she was like, are you sure Andrew's not gay, her friend? And my sister's like, no, he's not. And then like, meanwhile, looking at him, I was like, Notting Hill, like, of course the gay was jumping out there. And then
Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. That's a deal me.
literally. And so I thought she was onto me, and so we're on the phone, and then she makes her like snarky comment like, oh, you're so gay. And then I goes, well, joke's on you, because I actually am. And at that point, I think I hung up.
Oh, I can't.
And then she thought I was joking, and I was just like, I'm just over it, I'm about to just come out to this girl. And then she was like, calling back like, wait, were you joking just then? And I was like, no, I wasn't. And she was like screaming, she's like, oh, so you mean all the times that you were dancing to Tongue Song in front of the TV and you weren't joking, you were actually gay? I was like, girl, all the references she had, I was gay as hell.
Clocked.
Yep.
Clocked.
And then she was like, we should go shopping together, we should do all this like very like stereotypical stuff. And I was like, no, I don't do that. And then we went shopping like the next week. But so I came out to her,
Yeah.
and then she helped me come out to my brothers. So I came out to my younger brother first, and I was at his house. I was with him and his wife, and I think my niece and nephews were babies at the time. Actually, were they? Yeah, they were babies. I think
They're quite young,
yeah, very, very young. So I think they were asleep. And then I came up to my brother, and he was just so accepting. He was just like, that's absolutely fine. Like, he's like, I'm cool with it. Like, and we decided to play a prank on my sister. So we called up my sister, and my brother was like, oh, Andrew just told me that he's gay. And like, I threw him out the house, and my sister was like, you're joking, right? You're joking. And he was like, no, I threw him out the house. And then she was like, wait, you're joking? I'm coming back to you. She was like, I'm about to get on the train and come back to you. I was like, how could you do that? Like, she was flipping out, and then we told her we were joking. And then I think the next day, I came up to my older brother, and he was a bit awkward about it. I think he was fine, but I think he just didn't know what to say. Like, I remember him being like, yeah, it's up to you, it's your choice. And I was like, I was in my militant gay phase. So I was like, my choice, it's not a choice. That's why, like, that's why I'm coming out to you. It's not a choice, it's not a lifestyle. But I told them, and then I was like, okay, so the plan is I'm gonna come out to my parents. I think it was like the day after. I think I came out to my brothers like 2 days in succession, 2 days before I came out to my parents. So can you imagine that? Like, I just put this on them, and I was like, you need to be there. I'm coming out to them at this day, and on this day, I need you to be there to be my emotional support. And obviously you can't say no to that. So they came with their wives, my sister came. I also had my 2 best friends come along to the house. And I don't know whether I told my parents, like, we call family meetings. I don't know whether I told them that, oh, we should call a family meeting. And we're all just sat in the living room, conversations in the living room. And I have like all of these people around me, like my brothers, their wives, my 2 best friends. And it almost feels like we are like ganging up on my parents. They're just sitting in the corner. And I was like, there's something that I've known for a very, very long time that I wanted to just be honest to you both about. And I just want to tell you both that I'm gay. And the room, you could just hear a pin drop. And like, hearing those words just leave my mouth, it's like, it's in the world now. You can't take it back. And you have to take accountability now for the consequences. And I remember being I was ready to be disowned. Like, I was in the headspace that like, I'm willing to sacrifice the relationship I have with my parents in order for me to live my truth. And that was a very, very, it was a weird
courageous
space to be in. It was very courageous, yeah. But now thinking about it, that's the kind of resolve I think I needed for me to come out. And I had no idea how they would react. And I remember like it was just immediate, I think, just shock at, I think they probably saw, it was them, they had to rewire the idea that they had of me and the expectations they had of me and the kind of life they envisioned for me. All of that went out the window at the time. And my dad was like distraught, and my mom was distraught. There were tears. And I remember saying like, this is who I am. It was kind of like, this is who I am. I'm not asking for your acceptance, but I'm just telling you so that you know, and so you get to know me as like the full human being I am. I wasn't asking for acceptance. I was just telling them that this is who I am. And there were so many tears. Like, my best friends were like crying. I think there was not a dry eye in the room, and it was a mixture of like anger, disappointment, shock, fear. My parents were so fearful that I wouldn't be safe living a life this way. It was just a lot for them to process. But I remember at one point, it's funny because at one point I'm just thinking about Oyella. We were in the kitchen. My sister, we were in the kitchen and I was with my parents and I think they'd gone to cool off. And then I go into the kitchen and then my mum just came up to me and was like, we will always love you, we can never like disown you. They were like, you think I escaped the war in Uganda for me to lose my child over something like this? Ooh. And
It's okay.
and she cuddled me and my dad followed suit. And the reason why I laughed is because my sister was like, the sheet already, which was already all cried out that night. And the sheet was just and I just knew I had the most amazing parents at that time and I knew it was gonna be tough. But that was the beginning of the journey, I think, for them coming to terms with it, with me. And also at that point, I think you said this, like, once I came out to my parents, it was like, there's no one who can tell me anything about my sexuality. Like, once I had their acceptance, and now thankfully, their love for me, but not only their love for me, their love for you, the way they've embraced you as their child, has been amazing and something that I'm really grateful for. I'm grateful for them being independent thinkers. I'm grateful for them choosing the love of their child first, and I'm grateful for them challenging the ideas that they had of me, but also the ideas that they have of how a family should look or how a Ugandan man should be. And I know it hasn't been easy for them, but yeah, they've been amazing. So I would say that wrapped up.
But some can say choosing the love of your child over anything else.
Yeah.
I think that if that could be like a message every parent thinks about in that moment, it's like, this is your child. The love you have for your child should never be misplaced or given away or taken away because of anything. And in that moment, now, mom and dad, yeah.
Give Canada a follow too. But yeah, you'll see, like, you just see how far they've come. So that was
the beginning.
I would say the end of the process, but in some ways the beginning of a new process and a new life.
I think now we've had time through therapy, through growing up. I think the question is, what was the regret you had around coming out? Because it's all good to come out.
I think for me, the biggest regret was, I think I rushed the process with my parents. And I also think the way I came out, I didn't allow them the space to process and to respond to me coming out in a way that was safe for them. In the fact that I brought all of my soldiers, like literally it was like a battle, like it was us v them. I brought my siblings, I brought my best friends, and in hindsight, I don't think all of them needed to be there. Like that was the shield that I feel like I thought I needed, but I didn't consider their own feelings and them not feeling like they were being watched or that they were essentially being put under the spotlight on the microscope at a moment that was so emotionally charged. And so I regret doing that. I think I would have had more courage to perhaps, and I don't feel like I wasn't in any physical danger. So I already had that cushion. So I think giving them that space that night and not having so many spectators there, I regret not doing that. And I also regret how we rushed me coming out, to me introducing them to you.
I think
also to have you come and stay over at our house very soon after me coming out.
I feel so bad thinking, like when I have flashbacks to this moment.
I think it must have been like 2 weeks, and I was like, oh yeah, I've also got a boyfriend. I kind of almost like forced them to have you come and stay over versus like let it be a gradual thing. And I also think I set unrealistic expectations without taking into account where they come from,
The years
the
of thinking the same
generational
way,
difference.
the years of believing something is not right, then expecting that switch.
Yeah, and just expecting to understand everything. And I remember like almost like being quite, I don't know, like I remember just like the way that, like for instance, my mom said that the way that she was able to understand the stories and the humanity of gay people was actually by watching Jerry Springer, which I found funny at the time. But that was her closest like proximity that she had to other gay people, like was seeing them on TV. That's why representation matters, child. Beyond Jerry Springer, child. My dad, I remember him being like, oh, I saw that the CEO for Apple is gay. And to him, that signaled to me that, oh, my son can be gay and can still be successful and okay. And I remember kind of like, not almost like looking down on that, like on the little crumbs that they were grabbing in order for them to make sense of who their child was. So I regret that. But luckily it worked out in the end.
Yeah. But I think the one that I think till this day, it's something that I still hold is the fact that processing time we gave them from accepting you to introducing a partner to then wanting the partner to stay over. I think till this day is one that it's a regret. I don't even want to say I hate myself for it because it's like it's happened, but it was bad because it's like this is years of Andrew's parents feeling like their son is a certain way, what they expect, the future they've built for him, all of that, and you sort of shatter that glass underneath them that you're gay. And it's like, okay, let us process it, let us accept it. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, not only am I gay, but I've already started building this new future that you have no clue about, or you have never pictured. And it's like, okay, at least can I then put that picture frame together and see, okay, what does Andrew look like with a partner? And then instead of giving them that time, it's like, here is the partner. So it's like, okay, so it was like such an overload of emotions, an overload of actions, an overload of everything that I feel like that was one thing till that in my heart of heart I knew that we did wrong. And I think circumstances was the biggest factor in that. If we were financially stable, we would not even come close.
I would have been in that Holiday Inn, child.
Shout out Holiday Inn.
That was my biggest regret.
But they love us now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this with my chest. I am Andrew's mom's favorite in-law. Like among all the in-laws, they're gonna watch this, but they know Andrew's mom and I, my mother-in-law, like this. Like when I'm there, we just start gisting, talking about everything.
She's always asking about how's Toasted? Where's Toasted? Even when I call her, she's like, "Girl, where's my Toasted?"
It's like you can just tell. It's like we're gisting about everything. She's telling me about what this person did, and she always likes to talk to me about her past because you know me, I love the stories about past. She is amazing. Andrew's dad, I'm the only one. I feel like I'm the only one. That Andrew's dad and I, like we go at it. Like if he has an opinion, I fire back, and I love that about him because he can challenge me and I can challenge him. So the relationship now, it's literally like a veil, like just it's beautiful.
Another thing about my parents is that even though I came out, I'm gay, they were like, as long as your partner is someone who is in good standing, someone with integrity, someone who bring home money. My dad, as long as you're professionally successful and you're smart, that's the way to my dad's heart. And my mum is kindness and being proactive around the house and just being a good person.
He forgot the main thing. The main thing they said to us is like, it's fine, you're gay. We want grandkids.
Yes.
It's like I don't care what it is you need to do, how you need to figure it out.
Yeah.
But we want grandkids. They didn't even say grandkid.
Yeah,
kids.
And now they want them now.
They're not playing with that. They're not playing with their grandkids, child.
Yeah.
They love them so much. You have such a beautiful family, which I'm proud of now.
And next time we get to talk about your coming out story.
Oh yes.
In part 2.
In part 2 we talk about my coming out story, so that should be fun. What a joke.
Wow. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Oh, I'm such a YouTuber. And we will see you for part 2 of Conversations in a Living Room. We're gonna keep it quite lo-fi for now, right? It's done. It's better than perfect this year. So we hope you enjoy it.
Enjoy the ride with us. Because it's always gonna be fun.